Everyone, welcome to another episode of 252. This is Frank G here along with
Ralphie D.
Coolwater Kurt.
JK.
Now, I realize that many of our shows begin with this statement, but back when we were kids, many of us got our first taste of subversive material when we found, or someone gave us a copy, of Mad Magazine. It was black and white, printed on the crappiest paper you could possibly find. It seemed like an oversized comic book, but no color, and the art was sometimes a little bit adult. We weren't sure quite what to make of it. So it was everything a kid was looking for. It just wasn't made for kids. We're going to talk about Mad Magazine and all kinds of cool things today, but before we do that, let's get to 252 news and reviews.
One thing I would like to discuss is Star Wars Episode 8, The Last Jedi. What's that name mean to us? What's it say? The word Jedi, is it plural? Is it singular? What does all this mean? This is a topic that I think we'll have a big discussion on.
Well, I'll go ahead and roll out first with it. Disney did. They kind of just threw it out there. It was all over the internet. Geeks around the world got all giddy. And when you were looking at some of the high points, or not even high points, but some of the main things that you would hear about is the font and then the color. Like, what does it all mean? Is it the Last Jedi? Are they going to kill off Luke?
Is it the Last Jedi or is it the Last Jedi?
Yeah, the Last Jedi. I mean, when I immediately... go ahead.
Or is it the Last Jedi, like the previous, like the Last Jedi that came through this mother,
Right. Well, I would say, going in the just how can I best say this? I would say with the way things have going, like they did kill off Han Solo in the last one, so I doubt that this is like they're going to kill off Luke so Rey could be the Last Jedi.
Well, that's the thing. I mean, is Rey a Jedi yet? Probably not.
Right.
And I think with the Last Jedi, I imagine that it's going to revolve around Luke, the Last Jedi. He may be the remaining Jedi, unless he ends up dying out. I don't know what's going to happen, obviously. And then, like you say, is she going to have the Jedi Force or the Force within her enough to where she could receive some type of Jedi training?
And then there's also the other theory of maybe it's the Last Jedi, maybe referring to Kylo Ren. Like Luke did he trained Kylo Ren. It went sideways, and now Luke is like, I'm retired. I'm not training any more Jedis.
I'm too old for this
I had the Last Jedi. No more.
Or does it mean this is the Last Jedi Order, and Luke does have a secret school of other Jedi, plural?
It is a possibility. And I do know we did talk about that before, and that was like in that whole what's canon, what's not canon in the world of Star Wars.
Mm-hmm.
And they're talking about, I do remember there was where the Jedi school, the Jedi Temple Jedi School was hidden in the mall. That was a bunch of gravity wells and black holes
hard to
and
get
stuff.
to.
And you had to have the Force to navigate through it. That's why. So maybe they might pull a little something like that.
Well, that's what the thing where I think it is I think Luke is the Last Jedi because he's the last that's going to follow those particular set of rules. The not being attached to people thing is what led to them falling completely apart. So I think his new people are not going to be Jedi. They're going to be Force users that can use the light and the dark side because Luke uses the light and the dark side. And they're going to have to call themselves something else because it's not respectful to be Jedi. And I think they're going to be Bendu because they introduced the Bendu for no apparent reason, and he's the mix of the light and the dark side. And if you go back to the old Star Wars stuff that he wrote, the original name for Jedi was the Jedi Bendu.
Oh, okay. Interesting fact.
Now,
I think that Rey, Poe, and Finn are all Force sensitive, and they're all going to have Force powers. They're just not going to be Jedi.
All right, so that would make Luke
that would
the
make
last
Luke. And
Jedi.
if you want to take,
If they had called it the Last of the Jedi, it would have sounded better, but giving it away.
Yeah,
true.
I think that's a very good theory. I think it's a strong theory, and it could be it because when you think about it, to not have those attachments, to not have love and have families and stuff like that. Jedi were breaking that rule all the time.
All the time, man.
That's why the Jedi Order didn't work.
Now, we think that Ben Kenobi was beating it with
Padme.
yeah, I'm saying, and those aren't.
That's what I think.
Vader's kids.
Yeah, I mean, I just think.
Yeah, and he had a girlfriend later too. Obi-Wan did, which is why there's the whole "is Rey a Kenobi" theory that goes around.
Yeah.
Oh, really? Okay. There's a lot. There's a lot.
There's a
that
lot. There's
I'm
so many.
unaware of.
Well, you know what? This is a topic.
All right. You know what? Hey, and just
The
to
All Star Wars episode.
kind of piggyback on the Last Jedi thing, I think J.K.'s beard is kind of looking a bit
Oh, yeah.
Kenobi-ish.
Ben
Yeah.
Kenobi.
Here we go.
Got to get him a hoodie. Yeah, there you go.
There you go. Oh, you got the Last Jedi right here. All right, so segueing into this, we're going to call 2017 the year of the sequel, part 2. Last year was the year of the sequel. This is the year of the sequel. The Return of Xander Cage.
Been waiting for that.
John Wick 2.
Actually, been waiting for that.
50 Shades Darker.
Not
Can't wait to miss that one.
Fate of the Furious.
All right, I am a mark for the Fast and the Furious franchise.
Same here, man.
Yeah, not me.
I even like Tokyo Drift.
I know.
Tokyo Drift was good. I gotta say that was
He
decent.
goes
I like
back
that.
to Tokyo
Yeah.
Drift.
Tokyo Drift was good.
And a lot of people didn't like it. That's the thing.
I'm
I hear a
saying,
lot of people
just
didn't
because it kind of didn't fit within the whole
didn't.
I think it
But they
stood
made
alone,
it.
and it was
They
really
made it
well
fit.
done.
Yeah.
I mean, that was a cool movie.
And they
I
ended up
enjoyed it
making
through
a
and
film
through.
later too.
Yeah.
Which
Yeah.
is what was cool about it. I didn't know that I wanted another Rings movie.
I don't. And my daughter was so
did, though.
excited
Oh, yeah.
about
Me
Rings.
too.
I thought they already did a Rings too. Why?
They did. This is Rings.
Well, it's working. I think they're throwing it out. A lot of people haven't seen it, and it's like one of those kind of stories that just kind of last forever. It's like Rings. You watch this, you're gonna die in 7 days.
I'm like this, but who has VHS tapes anymore?
Somebody does.
Well, now it's like click on the internet, it's YouTube, watch this YouTube channel.
I've
You
seen
know,
a
die in
couple of
7
YouTube
days.
clips. I thought,
Man, don't tell people that YouTube channels can be possessed. We want people to hit subscribe, not click away.
hit subscribe and die.
Yeah, subscribe, and
I
you'll
know
get a
what you're
phone
waiting
call a
for.
little bit later.
Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2.
Oh, absolutely.
Don't tell me
I
that
think
you're
that's
not
gonna be
gonna
right.
do
I am waiting for this one.
Yeah.
Tell me about it. Smurfs, The Lost Village.
One thing I got to say about the Smurfs that I think is better, at least it's not Smurfs in New York. You know what I mean?
And
It's
also,
Smurfs in the
Smurfs
village.
take Manhattan. Sweet.
I mean, come on. You know what I mean?
and also it's animated this time.
Yeah, at least
Well,
they're bringing it true.
I do want to
Yeah,
say
that's true,
that
too.
I am actually excited that Demi Lovato is now voicing Smurfette.
See, there you go. You know what I'm saying? Didn't know you wanted it. Alien Covenant.
Yeah.
Frank,
This-
please
Because
tell
it's
me.
cool for the summer.
This
The downside is they'll have Johan and Pee Wee will show up, and you'll be like, oh,
Yeah.
hell no.
Oh, Pee-wee was the little
The little
yeah,
dude, Johan, was the knight or a squire.
the squire. Yeah,
Oh yeah.
Johan. Who spells the name with a J?
But I think you were touching on like Alien Covenant.
Alien
That's
Covenant.
the one that I'm most anticipating for as far as
Is that the
movies
movie that
this year.
Prometheus was supposed to be?
It's actually a sequel to Prometheus
sequel
as far as
Prometheus.
the way I understand.
And you actually see the alien in the
Look.
trailer.
They made one great Aliens movie. No, they made two great
Two.
Aliens
Yeah, I will
movies.
say that.
3? You
Game
didn't like
over, man. No, man, I didn't like
Three
it.
was actually on it. Three was just I didn't think the script didn't have much substance, but it was still well done.
What was the
considering
one
what
where they had
yeah,
Ripley
as far as
playing
film.
basketball and dunking?
Oh, Resurrection. That was really bad.
And the one,
Yeah.
3 was the one where they were on the prison planet
Yeah,
with
the Rock.
with Rock.
Yeah, the
And
Rock.
not the Rock.
Charles S.
Rock.
Oh, that nice,
Yeah.
A nice size plate, Keisha.
Annabelle 2, a surprise hit last year. Or
I
the
don't
year
like
before
doll
Annabelle.
movies.
I had a hard time buying that. I'd watch it and it wasn't doing anything for me.
Yeah.
However, I did enjoy the what's it, The Conjuring,
The Conjuring,
and The Conjuring
yeah,
2,
it's
and,
all
they,
right.
and
Both
it
great.
has references to Annabelle.
Yeah, exactly.
But those movies were great.
And Annabelle was okay, but I'm not going to go back for it. I will go see Annabelle 2 because I love the genre. Pirates of the Caribbean.
I have a close friend of mine is really eager to see this film. I'm done with Pirates. I think
Aren't they bringing
I
back
haven't seen
Orlando
any of them.
Bloom and Keira Knightley though in this one?
is Johnny Depp in it? Yeah,
Of course, they're not going to
I
make a
didn't-
Pirates movie.
I didn't
without
see
Johnny
they didn't
Depp.
show him in the trailer.
Yeah, they didn't show him.
They haven't?
Yeah, Disney does that shit sometimes too, where they leave out the like the 17th sequel doesn't have anyone from the original cast.
Hey, well, yeah, they've moved on, so but it's still a franchise that Disney can cash in on. So I mean, I'm sure they're
And
gonna make.
I'm
money.
going to say this. I'm going to say this for the Pirates movie, and I have nothing to back this up. I'm just going to throw it out. Disney has to go back and thank Johnny Depp and the Pirates of the Caribbean movies because these movies made an unprecedented amount of money when they first came out.
Yeah,
Because they made that.
absolutely.
Now, what happened was Disney had this huge cache of money that they wasn't planning on. And what did they go out and do? They went out and bought Lucasfilm. They went out and bought Marvel, and they took these franchises, or the
properties from
these properties.
The price was right. Yeah.
And now
that price in time.
$9 billion fucking dollars later, or something like that. You think about, and it all goes back to that first.
Well, I think you're right. I think it definitely gave them like a financial push.
It gave them,
forward.
because they were able to spend. 30, 40, 60, $70 million to buy this stuff, and people are like, oh shit, you're gonna buy this
Disney
stuff.
itself, I mean, just as a company itself, we all know they're just tons
they're
of bags
But
of
10 years, well, I would say 15 years ago, they were still doing good, but those theme parks were actually losing them money.
I think you're right. I think it revitalized the theme parks as well. Pirates of the Caribbean, let's go to Disneyland.
Yeah,
See these
because
things.
then what they did, they started to, now when you went to go see Pirates of the Caribbean, they started putting Jack Sparrow in it.
Yeah, you can see it when you go there.
Yeah.
John, there's, the
And there's
animatronics
there's a
of
bunch of Johnny Depps throughout the whole ride.
Yeah.
What is this?
Yeah. Hey, Johnny.
Like
It's not Johnny,
Depps.
it's Jack.
Oh, I'm sorry.
And you know what? And we made it through May. So be tuned for 2017, the year of the sequel, part 3.
Every now and then we go ahead and dip into the sports world. And with this one being the big game coming up on February 5th, we have to talk about the cheating ass New England Patriots.
Wow. That's on the copy.
Yeah.
Beating the Pittsburgh Steelers, who acted like they didn't even want to be there.
Yeah.
And
I actually felt
hopefully
bad for Aaron Rodgers.
the Dirty Bird, the Atlanta Falcons, representing the NFC, they are the only team that was in that AFC NFC championship game to not have a championship.
Right.
They were always talking about the 4 quarterbacks, the 3 of them that have multiple championships. And then you got this guy who has nothing but Matt Ryan, the Atlanta Falcons.
Julio Jones.
I'm rooting for you guys.
Yeah.
And I will just, without any more fanfare, I'll just say that hopefully this is a very exciting Super Bowl. We've had a couple that were really good.
Down to the wire. A couple where the lights
went out. The
lights
went out. One when the lights went out. And then we had one that was really, really boring when old Peyton Manning just got beat up out there.
Yeah,
but then he got his redemption and he won the next one.
Well, he had his defense win that game with him.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
You go, boy. And with that being said, Frank.
The first thing you're going to remember about Mad Magazine for most of us is going to be the thing that drew you to it in the first place, the crazy cover. What was on the cover of the first issue you can remember?
It may be the Batman 66 parody. I think that might be the cover that I remember. Or no, the Alien parody. That might be the one. Okay. They're all in my head. I don't know.
They're all you can give us your list of a few is cool, but that's somewhere the early ones you remember. That's pretty cool. I remember that Alien one.
I definitely remember the one where he had the mohawk like Mr. T and he had the gold chains and stuff like that.
That's a nice
that was during a time where Mr. T was the icon.
Mr. T was the Rock.
He was the man, dude.
Yeah, he was. Yeah,
where'd he come from? Who is this guy?
He was I think he was a bouncer in a nightclub in Chicago.
That's funny how a lot of people's stories start like that.
Well, he kind of had like a wrestler
origin story too.
Yeah, he had like this, he was this wrestler, but a real live guy. He had like this thing behind him.
But he really, he wasn't
even. He was WWF, but he wasn't, right?
Yeah, he wasn't even that. I mean, I think he got pulled into that.
Had that attitude. It was perfect.
Yeah, he was just a bad mother. Watch your mouth.
Yeah.
But I remember that. I remember.
Yeah, that was a good one.
Yeah.
Yeah, for me it's very vague. I didn't get into Mad Magazine until I got older. I started really getting into kind of slapstick humor after watching the Naked Gun films. I honestly,
nice end.
I can't recall, the first Mad magazine, what the cover was, but I mean, obviously, it catches your eyes just with that goofy kid. I don't even know his name. Whatever this Mad
Alfred
himself,
E. Newman.
If that's his name, Alfred.
Alfred E.
Yeah, that guy.
Yes,
but
sir.
I've enjoyed Mad from time to time. However, I'm not like an ultimate fan that subscribes or anything.
Well, I'll tell you what. I know Frank can probably remember the Batman 1989 cover as well, and I think were you were subscribed or just picking them up at the stand? I don't remember.
Yeah, I used to just get them at the grocery store every time because somebody in our house would go to the grocery store almost every single day between us. So it's like, okay, there's a new Mad, we'll grab it because it used to be $1.35 cheap.
Yes.
Now it's like $5.99, not cheap.
Yeah.
You got it.
Yeah, absolutely. It's like it's an investment, right?
Right. I'm investing in my company. That thing used to be 30 cents, same size too. I mean, I've seen some old.
The change in the paper made they have to print it now on the same paper as People and Entertainment Weekly and all the comics that are $4 or $5 a piece too. It's like put that stuff back on newsprint, including the comic books, and put them back down to $1.50, and people will buy them again.
I agree. I think it should be casual reading.
I picked up an Archie digest at the grocery store, $8.99. Like, come on.
Wow.
What?
Well, you know what? Now we're really starting to sound like the old man hour.
I remember when those candy bars were a nickel.
Yeah, but $9.
I used to walk.
That's
I
pretty
used to
serious.
walk. I used to walk to school uphill both ways.
Yeah, barefooted, ate rocks and dirt for
In
breakfast.
Fairfield, you can probably find a spot to do that.
Walk uphill
Both ways.
San Francisco.
I was going to say that again. I'm kind of like a JK in the sense that I really didn't get into them. I only occasionally read them whenever you would leave them.
Yeah.
Because I do remember you would crack those open and read them like.
Oh yeah, cover to cover.
You were like religiously, and I was at that time. I was definitely solely into my superhero comics, and that's like all I would read. And I always go back to. I wish we were more collectors as kids. Because we just enjoyed our stuff.
Oh yeah.
We didn't really collect and share save these things because
until I got older. I mean, when I was younger, things were for reading. I would read in the bath. I would read in the shower.
Yeah, I remember your shit would be all like, man, why is this? It's all wrinkled up.
When we were younger, I think that's kind of how almost all things are. I mean, like, hey, you let anybody ride your bike. Hey, I'm gonna borrow your bike. Yeah, go ahead and ride it. Then all of a sudden your bike's gone. My bike got stolen. I told you not to let anybody ride your bike. Your parents would say. But you were like that with your toys, He-Man action figures. You throw them up in the air, burn them, or
firecrackers.
Until you get older, it means something. You're like, oh no, it's pristine, mint condition. Yeah.
I know.
The same with magazines.
Seriously. But one thing that I did like about Frank is that he was always down with letting you read his stuff. Always down to share. He's like, hey, look, you got to check this out. Read this, and that really helped fuel my appetite for it too.
Yeah. It seems like Frank had an abundance of that kind of all those magazines.
I always did the thing where I never got rid of anything, and I usually treated it well enough that it survived.
Right.
So by the time I met him, I had probably 8 or 9 years worth of Mads just sort of stacked up, from gathering them over the years. Some of them had no cover and stuff like that, but they were still good to read.
And I remember thinking you were like a weird kid. I was like, wow, this guy just has all this stuff.
I was a weird kid because I liked a lot of things from all every generation.
And I remember being at your house for hours just looking through stuff and just be like, damn.
That's awesome.
Like a treasure trove of stuff.
Where was I? Oh, yeah, I didn't meet you guys till way later.
Seriously, one of the worst days of my life was when Frank's stuff got moldy. He had this chest full of comics and Mad magazines and books and all kinds of shit. And it got left in the rain. Oh God, that was.
Oh yeah, that's tragic.
Oh, that's when you had to go and see that. I never saw that with my eyes.
Yeah, it was awful.
That was after I left.
Yeah. I think his mom was supposed to ship a bunch of his stuff to him in Michigan, and the aforementioned Mad magazines and everything. Just
all my comics. Yeah.
Yeah, and we're talking about several long boxes.
That's hard.
That's a
good
shame.
stuff. Readable, the stuff that we just read, and then the collectible stuff too. So it was heartbreaking.
That was where my first 252 went.
Yeah, I still have mine. But segueing back into the Mad, one of my favorite all-time parts about that magazine was the movie parodies. I mean, the wordplay within the stories and all that stuff, just perfect. I mean, they could turn anything into a joke.
Yeah.
Remembering that Alien parody, I remember seeing the chest burster scene in a Mad magazine before I saw the movie, and then your little brain connects things when you see the movie. It's like, oh, that was from Mad.
Oh yeah. Mad magazine, yeah.
Oh, that really happened in this movie.
Yeah, that's something I always enjoyed about Mad magazine. It's actually my favorite stuff is when you're scrolling through it and it has like the movie posters, because you go into the theaters, you see the upcoming films that are happening, and I love the parodies of the movie posters. I got one right here. It's Indiana Jones and the search for a firm mattress with good lower back support. And of course, this is when he's really old, and he's back to do Indiana Jones. I just thought that was hilarious.
And I still remember the first time I read the Indiana Jones parody. His name was, what was it, Indy Banana Jones?
Oh, okay.
That's hilarious to a 10-year-old.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Indy Banana.
So I got a question that I want to pose. So what was the difference really between Mad magazine, Cracked, National Lampoons, or was it all the same? Or was it just the competition of each one, or what was the deal there?
Well, Frank, I know that you probably have opinions based on facts.
National Lampoon was first, right?
National Lampoon was probably second.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that was first.
National Lampoon was specifically aimed at adults, though. I mean, there was some not for kids material in most of those until the very end.
They had titties.
I like the movie. See, when I was a kid, I watched the little National Lampoon's movies, and I was like,
as a 10-year-old, you couldn't walk into the store and just buy National Lampoon. They kept that in the Playboy shelf.
Yeah, they did.
And for good reason.
Yeah, and I didn't get the joke that they were turning racism and sexism and all that stuff on its ear. I just saw, a woman with a huge rack on the cover, and then, some kind of racist stuff, and I'm like, this isn't funny. This is just weird, and I feel bad for reading this.
So Cracked was actually more on the same level
as Mad. Yeah, Cracked was a pale knockoff, in my opinion.
Oh yeah,
it was weaker. It was mostly the people who didn't get hired to work at Mad, and they still had written all these and drawn these stories. What are we going to do with them? Let's start another magazine.
Yeah, but then a strange thing happened in the late 80s, I want to say early 90s, when people from Mad started going to Cracked. So you'd see a Don Martin cover on a Cracked magazine. You remember when that happened?
Right, yeah, that was probably around 1990 when he switched. And Mad, took a hit right there. And Cracked didn't really gain much because it was still Cracked with some Don Martin stuff inside.
Yeah.
But Mad was sorely missing the Don Martin at that point.
But one thing that Cracked could never duplicate or imitate were the Sergio Aragones comics. Sergio Aragones, he would have the he did Gru. Remember Gru, that the Wandering Barbarian? You
No.
You don't remember that? Well, anyway, in the middle of all the panels,
I remember.
That was a Marvel comic for like 15 years, but he doesn't know it.
Yeah. In the middle of all the panels, there would be these really small drawings.
I remember Thundar the Barbarian.
It wasn't Thundar.
Thundar
That was Jack Kirby, not Sergio Aragones. Yeah.
Thundar the Barbarian was good.
But Sergio Aragones would draw the small little thumbnail-sized cartoons that were like in between the panels of a lot of the things in Mad Magazine. And I don't know if he's.
Yeah,
I think
there should be some in there still. No, there's.
Oh yeah, these things right here.
Okay, interesting.
Yeah, Sergio Aragones.
Oh, just the doodles.
Yeah, those doodles, and it'd be like a joke, a one-theme joke.
I don't know if you guys can see that.
If you actually
right there.
If you
Yeah.
look close at them, though, most of them they're actually fairly intricate little
They're
stories.
intricate.
You know?
They're well drawn, and it tells a story, and it's like usually just one panel. And
It's a
drawing that
lot
has
like-
movement.
Yeah, exactly. It's a lot like Farsight. It's a very simple situation that says a lot. I mean, granted, Farsight does have a little underlying, like,
And they'll have words on the
preface.
far side, but
Yeah, this
I don't
is
think
has no
that's
words
ever-
at all. But like right here, it shows a guy holding his arm, and there's a skateboard on the ground, but there's a pretty girl walking past him, so you get the idea that he was looking at her, not concentrating. He
and
ate
he
shit.
was really good at drawing voluptuous women. So
Mhm.
Oh yeah, a lot of people in Mad had that voluptuous women thing going on. Sergio also did the guy sweeping that would be on TV's bloopers
Yeah.
and practical jokes.
the guy sweeping at the
Yeah.
end, that was Sergio Aragones.
Oh, I remember that.
I remember
That was Dick Clark and Ed McMahon.
Yeah,
Yeah.
there you go.
TV's bloopers.
I
and
met him
practical
once, and
jokes.
I should have brought it. He drew
You
me
met
in one
who?
comic, Sergio Aragones.
Oh, okay. I thought you meant Dick Clark.
You ain't never met no.
Hello.
I did not know that.
John Carson.
But no, I met Sergio once at a comic book convention. Really nice guy. He drew me something real quick, and I mean his skills were just amazing. I gotta dig that out. It's somewhere in my pile of stuff. But I'll tell you what, man. One thing that I always wanted to ask someone, the IND on the Mad magazine right next to the M. I mean, were they trying to say Mad Mind? Because that's on every cover.
Yeah, or is it Mind Ad? But what it really is international news distribution for it's a syndication thing that they had to put on there to be on the newsstands. Is it still on there now?
Yeah, it's still
Yeah,
here.
it's still on there. I always saw that, and I always wondered if it was a thing. But I
Not
guess
as intricate as Todd McFarlane hiding a spider in every cover of Spider-Man, but nonetheless.
but still something.
But
Yeah,
still
it's
something.
there. Yeah.
It's there.
Still a mystery, and plus when people write in and go, "What is that?" they always play it off with a joke, like they do every other letter that people write in. So they play into their own little mystery, for 50 years now, however long it's been going.
252.
Adonis, pull yourself together.